Ursula Le Guin talks about the hero narrative as the story that hid my humanity from me, where the central concern of narrative is conflict, the killer story. What if, instead of conflict, the story focuses on what Donna Haraway styles as relentlessly becoming with? I wanted to create a documentary in which there was no one thing that was at stake, and yet many things are always at stake. In which what is explored is being human, where, as Le Guin remarks, and then the next day you probably do much the same again. Here is the first 2 minutes of that cut of the documentary.
Oh, piye iki juragane buah iki? Piye, Mbak?
Ya.
Kae. Kok cilik-cilik iki? Gede-gede kae.
Iki malah ra ono temblonge, Mbak.
Oh.
Nek nggo kekulap madone.
Ya wis. Lah apik-apik. Ah iya iso-iso ngomong laris.
Ngene sik empuk.
Heeh, empuk. Sekilo wae.
Kula mandi.
Ora mambu.
Kula mandi di setting.
Oh, rasa nggo tas.
Ora setengah kilo lho.
Nah, balik iki.
Olah ya Allah.
Ya Allah, aku ra seneng tas kresek.
Ora berantakan.
Oh, ngare dua deh. Ngene.
Pas banget kok.
Enak.
Nara.
Nana mandi sisa, Nana. Ooh, the baby's here. Nana ditulang ya. Udah siap ya. Udah, Nah, dimatiin, Nah. Yuk. Pantang.
The broadcaster wanted a different story. They wanted something to be at stake, and for Bekti to overcome challenges to bring about change. The broadcaster's notes said it took too long for Bekti to get to work. It's at 4 minutes in a 26-minute doco. In their eyes, work is the battleground for the narrative. Home is a place to provide lovely insights into Bekti's character. But what the character does is at work, not at home. Here is the first 2 minutes of what I created for the broadcaster.
My name is Bekti Andari. I have a great job at a university in Yogyakarta, Indonesia. I explain science to the communities and explain the communities to the scientists.
From the perspective of community, it could be too far.
Bekti is not a scientist. She's a communicator. She works with an international team who are trying to eliminate mosquito-borne diseases like dengue. The scientists have found that mosquitoes infected with a common bacteria called Wolbachia are less likely to carry dengue. Around 25,000 people die each year from dengue infections, so it's important work. These scientists realise that eliminating dengue is as much about understanding social behaviour as it is about what happens in the lab. Bekti helps them understand how they can best involve the community in their work.
Australia, pengen dolan.
I've been working with communities for a while. When a big earthquake hit Yogyakarta in 2006, I mobilized my network.
Mas Karisma.
We became their extended community, which is what we are doing here.
Bekti is heading to a nearby village. She'll help the locals clean up plastic rubbish where mosquitoes breed and check for larvae in house water. Bekti spends a lot of time liaising with the villagers, like these women, who are active in their community. She needs their permission to release the Wolbachia-carrying mosquitoes.
Pundi? Kanan apa kiri? Kiri. Hah? Kiri. Kanan Om Riko. Kiri. Nggih dibagi dua mboten napa-napa. Mboten apa sarengan mawon.
Now, of course, there are many differences in these cuts, but I want to focus on narrative structure. In the original cut, without realising it, I had made a feminist narrative in line with the carrier bag theory of fiction put forward by Le Guin, Haraway and others. I thought I had created a hero's journey because Bekti is the main character, and when she leaves the domestic space for the workspace, this could be seen as crossing the threshold. But Bekti does not change the home space because of her time in the work world. Her actions at home are as important to the story as her actions away from home. As Glenda Hamley points out, the hero's journey is a cause and effect structure with an active protagonist who overcomes obstacles in the pursuit of a goal. In the first cut, I had compressed events from years apart into a single day. And so time became diurnal rather than causal. The narrative is more correctly an example of carrier bag structure because much the same could happen tomorrow. Bekti's world is no different at the end than it was at the start. But the viewer's world is different. They have travelled far and seen much. The gift is not something Bekti brings home, it is something she gives to the viewer, to you. By valuing Bekti's actions at work and by seeking a story in which Bekti overcomes obstacles to achieve change, the broadcaster's edit notes cause the removal of the feminist narrative structure.
From the perspective of community, it could be too far.
They aligned an ideal of heroicism with neoliberal values of the individual productive worker, where the domestic sphere of the main character is outside the action boundary. I think there is an interesting relationship between the value boundaries of the economists and the hero's journey. In economic theory, they create value boundaries. Actions that are considered productive and create value are placed inside the value boundary, and those things that are unproductive are outside. What is in and out changes over time. As Mariana Mazzucato points out, until the feminists challenged this in the late 20th century, the domestic sphere was always placed outside what is valued by economists. It was considered of no productive value. Imagine, who cooks the food? Who does the washing? Who cleans? Who raises the children? Who looks after the elderly? And why would we create a system that states that these things are of no value? As I write this paragraph, I'm in a room where there are never any children or dogs or cats, where cleaning takes place late at night when I have left. I don't feel that there is enough of my identity vested here for me to relentlessly become with this space. I become with the people I film. I become with the people in my domestic life. These are sites of action for me. Who I am at this workplace, who any of us are at work, is not all of who we are. We are more. So why did the broadcaster feel this space is the world of action? I think it is because it corresponds to what we value more generally in society. Stories we tell reinforce social values. Sometimes they challenge them, but either way, they are in relationship to those values.
Jadi yang galak itu yang betina, Pak. Hati-hati dengan betina, Pak.
Yang jantan mana?
In our neoliberal colonial narratives, we work in relationship to existing values in society. And these values are shared by the economists, who also create similar value boundaries. But all this is a way of looking at the world. It is not the world. There are other ways, other boundaries, other sets of values. While the hero's journey does not require that the hero take action at a workplace, it does usually take place in an other world that is not the home world. The regular domestic world is rarely valued as the place of action. The feminists are challenging this